Hello, welcome to Working with Miniatures. I'm Jim, and tonight we're going to be painting the Maggotcrown Bonesack from Reaper Miniatures' Black Line. We're going to primarily be using Army Painter speed paints and warm paints. Let's get started. After assembling and priming this soon-to-be horror, I chose the colors I'll be using, mindful that I wanted a limited palette. After the last Marvel Crisis Protocol and Ashakia miniatures having stressed me out, I wanted this project to be streamlined and stress-free. I do end up adding about 5 more paints to those shown here, finishing out with 16 bottles, including the primer. My first step is an anti-zenithal dry brushing of dark red all over the body, and after that dry brushing I come back with a medium-sized brush to base coat the inside of the mouth with the same color. The next step is another anti-zenithal dry brushing of a lighter red, covering less area than before. I also add highlights to the inside of the mouth with this second hue of red. Because of the many teeth, I have to thin the red down a decent amount and push it into the recesses. With a fleshy pink, I apply a zenithal-like dry brushing. This paint will act as my mid-tone as it will cover most of the first 2 dry brushing steps, though I want to not completely cover them. As I edit this video, I wonder if I should be dry brushing in small circular passes like stick welding to avoid such a scratchy, finished look. With a yellowish flesh tone, I apply a final zenithal dry brush as a highlight over the pinkish areas. Again, careful to leave quite a bit of the pink behind. The dry brushing really brought out some of the sculpted veins, so I thinned down a bright pastel purple with a little water and then applied thin lines with a small brush. I painted extra veins over the body as well, with the lower body veins longer and spread further apart. On the shoulders and arms, however, I bunched the veins closer together. With bright pastel blue, I come back and highlight all of the veins that were painted with purple to make them stand out just a little more. Painting the veins took longer than all of the previous painting steps combined. Painting all of the bone and teeth took equally as long, though the 2 highlight steps passed increasingly quicker as I painted less area with each new color. These were the first 3 colors I added to my palette in this project that I had not originally planned for. I've been using these 3 colors for bone, green clothing, pale flesh, and hair for a very long time. I own all of the Army Painter war paints, speed paints, metallics, and washes. Pretty much the only thing I'm missing is their airbrush line at this point. And out of all of those, these 3 bottles, along with matte black and matte white, are easily my top 5 most used paints. I've been using Army Painter paints religiously for over 2 years now, since before the start of this channel. At this point, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on most of their colors, and I think in the near future I'm going to start doing a review of each of these paints. Maybe all of the yellows in one video, oranges in another, etc. Discussing which I feel are the most necessary and which ones you can skip. Lava Orange and Dragon Red, I'm looking at you two, you suck. From here I could probably call it a night, but I decided to thin down some speed paints to apply a filter over this dread monstrosity, starting with a dirty brown on the inner legs and under the arms and folds of the skin. I thin down ochre clay next, a sickly yellowish green, and I apply this in splotches where highlights would land, before finishing the painting with thin algae green over all of the flesh, but leaving the bony areas and inside the mouth untouched. Here I felt like I could make this already repugnant creation even more so by gluing a droplet of hot glue to the base to serve as pustules, right under its. Yep, believe it or not, though it's not shown in this video, the sculptor of this miniature actually carved an anus. I'm not even kidding. Then I glue a pile of these hot glue pustules just behind the beast as it is dropping them in a mass in its wake. To add a disgusting coloration, I apply the same mix of algae green speed paint over them. Time to stop, right? No, let's make it more disgusting. And how can grass achieve that? It can't, but we're not adding grass. We're adding some lengthy armpit hair, and you know what? Screw it. We already went gross, let's go full bore and add some long and stringy pubic hair. I add some of the brownish decay mix to make the hair dingier from grime and other filth best left unnamed. And while we're at it, with them all like that, it needs some slimy secretions, so let's mix a moohoo with glistening effects paint. Because it's so stringy, I find that if you pull up a bit on a toothpick and then spin it until the stringy bits break, it helps, lest you have fine strands of the adhesive getting in places you don't want. And why is the first place I put the secretions between this thing's anus and the pustule beneath it? Anyway, as an additional tip, I find that when using Uhu glue, it's better to work fairly quickly as it doesn't take long for it to start to set and glob up in bits larger than you want. The slightly dried blobs will also not stick and stretch well. When this starts to happen, try to use a glue that's still liquidy in the deeper pools. These fingers are shaped weird back here, so I should stretch some ichor to the pustules on the, no, anus. I guess it needed a little extra help to pop that last one out. Yeah, it's official, my brain's gross. This thing now looks like a boomer from Left 4 Dead got lost in Silent Hill for the weekend. Heavy footfall heralds its arrival. It bolts from the darkness with a terrifying speed, belying its massive girth. The two voids within its eye sockets stare at you, transfixing you with fright. Its cavernous maw opens in complete silence. You immediately retch, the stench so great you cannot even scream as it envelops you whole. You wait to be masticated, but there is no crunching of your bone or grinding of the flesh, and you realize in horror the hundreds of needle-like teeth are not meant to chew upon you. They're merely to deter you from pushing your way out. Like a fish swallowing another one whole, your fate will be a long and painful death by digestion. For lessons learned, I should dry brush in smaller circular passes instead of long streaks to avoid a scratchy finish. The veins I painted were obscured by the speed paints, and I should have painted them last. The flesh looked better before the speed paints, but I did want a greenish coloration, so I'm still happy with the result. I think I'll flick tiny droplets of glistening blood onto the pustules as they're too clean. I also want to see if I can find a small cowering child to 3D print and place in front of it to play its next unfortunate fit. Jesus Christ, I didn't take my ass to church or eat a Flintstone chewable or something. I ain't right. That's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you learned something or were inspired to start or expand your own collection. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you like the content in this video and would like to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jim with Working with Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Till next video.